So you love 4K and you love Apple. Well, we're gonna check out the Apple TV 4K right after this.
This is, you listening to Travis.
What up, players? Welcome back. And for all you new people, welcome. My name is Travis and I do tech videos every single week and I have a blast doing them. If that sounds fun to you, hit that subscribe button. But for now, let's get into the video. Cutting the cord. That's what you do when you get rid of your cable or satellite company because you're tired of spending too much money for content. Because there's so many streaming options out there, you don't need a cable or satellite option. And because you don't have to be beholden to a cable or satellite company, you can diversify what type of content you watch online, including all the way up to 4K with HDR. I think there's like 1 or 2 channels, period, on cable and satellite to do 4K HDR, but there's tons of content on the internet. So you can consume that content in many different ways, and one of those ways is getting a streamer, like the Apple TV 4K. It does HDR, it does 4K, and it's made by Apple, so you know it's gonna be pretty smooth. I think we're gonna have to check it out. Let's get it out of the box. So here it is, the Apple 4K TV. It's got your normal HDMI, your Ethernet in, and your power, and that's about it. Everything else is wireless. Now, you know Apple, it's gonna be smooth, it's gonna be amazing, the interface is gonna be beautiful, and it'll integrate incredibly with your Apple devices. I've actually talked about that in this video right here. And you just can't, it's just hard to hate on this thing. It is heavy and really blocky, but man, the interface is beautiful, and the performance is really amazing. So why get something like the Apple TV? This is an interesting question because if you have a 4K TV that has capabilities of HDR, more than likely it has an app system which will allow you to stream those videos without the need of something like this. Typically they come with apps for Amazon and Google and Hulu and pretty much everything you would ever want. One thing they never come with though is iTunes, and that's where the Apple gotcha. So basically there's 2 reasons that you would buy the Apple TV. Well, there's probably more than that, but as far as 4K content, there's really 2 reasons. Number 1, not only does this support 4K HDR, it supports Dolby Vision, the superior version of HDR, made by Dolby, you know, the guys that make all the amazing audio surround sound codecs. The other thing that's kind of interesting about the Apple TV 4K is they're part of the Movies Anywhere Alliance, which I love. Apple being a part of that was great. That means if you buy a movie on iTunes, or if you buy a movie on YouTube, or if you buy a movie on Amazon, or if you buy a movie on Vudu, which is where I kept most of my movies, they all sync together. The one thing they don't do is they don't sync 4K content all the time, but they tend to sync all the movies. So you can go to any one of your platforms and watch pretty much any of the movies you bought from anywhere. But one of the cool things Apple did this past year is they upgraded all their movies to 4K. So if you owned it in 1080p, you got a free upgrade. So you probably bought a lot of movies on iTunes, in which case you'd want an Apple TV since it's the only thing that plays those movies. You can't get a Roku and play it. You certainly can't get a Fire TV and play any of that. So this kind of bridges the gap between everything. It has all the right apps for that stuff. Very recently they closed the last gap, which is one of the reasons I ended up getting this. They now can stream Vudu in 4K Dolby Vision. That was something that was kind of being held off as they were trying to get the app ready. And the reason that's important is because not all the studios were putting their content in 4K on iTunes, but they were doing it in Vudu. Vudu is owned by Walmart. It's amazing that all these huge companies can't get this stuff together in just one format. Another thing this thing does, which is kind of cool, is it does games. It's actually really powerful. So you can play some games like tennis, kind of like back in the day with Wii. And there's some other really cool games that are on here. I don't know that I'll use it for that. I'm more streaming, and while I do play games, I tend to play them on my Xbox One X. But you know, for casual gamers, and if you're gonna buy this anyway, why wouldn't you? Another cool thing about the Apple TV is the controller. Now, you can use your phone to remote control the Apple TV, which is great. I mean, there's apps for that, just like there are for pretty much all the streamers. But this is such a nice, beautiful controller. You have your menu, you have your speaking for Siri, because of course, if you want to voice control stuff, you can just do that from here. And your play, pause, and your volume up and down, which is nice. A lot of streamers don't have volume up and down. So the amount of TV apps and video apps that are on the Apple TV is substantially better than when it first came out years ago. I actually had the first 2 Apple TVs, and they were okay. You had Netflix on there, you had iTunes, you had Hulu, you didn't have Amazon, you didn't have a lot of those things. But now Apple's kind of caught up. They have a ton of different apps, including things like WWE, UFC, a bunch of different things, and you're not really ever out of anything. I actually got this because of the DirecTV Now package. It's one of the streaming cord cutter programs out there, and it's the first piece of hardware out there that's going to get the DVR option. It's pretty cool. They're actually letting them beta test it on the Apple TV first. So that must show that people in the industry are looking towards this particular streamer as one of the premium ones that are available. Now, as far as it's supporting some really great formats, one thing it does not support is Dolby Atmos. Now, that's important for people like me who have a home theater that's actually built for Dolby Atmos. For most people, that means nothing. What is Dolby Atmos even? Dolby Atmos is a really amazing surround format that allows you to hear sounds from around you and above you. It's really trippy. But for home theater enthusiasts like myself, it's critical. Now, Apple says they will support it in a future update, and maybe that's true. And if it is, it then becomes perhaps the #1 streaming option out there today. So what do I think of the Apple 4K TV? Well, if you're just out to buy it in 2018, it's a great option. If you need Dolby Vision, go for it. If you don't, there's a lot of other options out there for a lot less money. If you need iTunes, you need to go for this. There's not even a discussion. But for a 4K streaming device in 2018, this is a little bit priced too much. About $180 for 32 gigs, which, to be honest, I don't need 32 gigs on my streamer. However, the interface is great, it's easy, and people know the Apple name. So if you're worried about any of these other companies that you're not really comfortable with, then it's a great buy. The quality is there, and it's Apple. So if this video helped you out in any way, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and share it to all your friends. And if it didn't help you out, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and share it to all your friends. I hope to see you guys again real soon. Peace and love, peace and love.